Good evening. We created SDN.TV because there's a need to bring the latest information on top stories in education, business, entertainment, politics, and more. Our mission is to build bridges of community engagement and connection for Haitian American families here and abroad. At SDN TV, we are passionate about social justice, and we promise to amplify voices that are too often silenced. Yes, we will be translanguaging. Our program will always include Asian Creole along with interpretation for both our English speakers and those who are not yet proficient in the English language. I am Carlo Damus, and this is SDN TV. Thank you.
And so I said I didn't, and I didn't know any Haitians, not one Haitian at that point. Thank you for having me this evening.
Valerie, can you tell us a little bit about you?
Well, I'm was born in New York. I went to school in Europe and Germany. I speak German and Dutch. Worked over there. Got some international experience. I'm a real estate broker in Atlanta, and I'm also president of an international organization that I started called the International Children's Rights Advocates Society. And my proudest title and job description is mom.
Valerie, we understand that you've been leading a fight for 9 years. Can you tell us about that?
Well, I accidentally became involved in this issue. Quite frankly, the closest I had been to Haiti prior to 2010's earthquake was the Bahamas. So in 2010, I was invited to come to a planning meeting for via my church for to help benefit an orphanage, a group of orphanages in Haiti, run by an American. And prior to that, I really didn't think or know about the orphanage business or anything like that. And the day that I was introduced was actually January 12th, 2010. So I arrived at this meeting, having run around crazy all day. I show up 15 minutes early because in Europe, you know, in Germany, if you're 15 minutes early, you're kind of late. And no one else is there. The person sponsoring the meeting said, "Did you not hear there was an earthquake?" And so I said I didn't, and I didn't know any Haitians, not one Haitian at that point in my life. I'd never met a Haitian. And I came inside, we started talking, and it was described to me that there was this man who had worked his whole life for over 30 years for orphans in Haiti, and that he had prior to that worked with Mother Teresa. That he was in fact the first American brother with the Missionaries of Charity. So I was very touched by this. I mean, I was raised as a Catholic. I think all Catholics are kind of sensitive to Mother Teresa, now Saint Teresa. And I thought, wow, like this is such a noble cause. And of course, the earthquake had just happened. At the time I was a Rotarian. I'm a 3-time Paul Harris Fellow. Service above self falls into play. And I thought, wow, I came to the meeting very prepared and ready to discuss this. And then the next thing you know, they're making me the lead, the team lead on this, bringing this group here, this Resurrection Dance Theater to Atlanta. Apparently they travel a good bit of time, couple of months at a time, 2, 3, 4 times a year for over 10 years. It's called the Resurrection Dance Theater. And I invited everybody I knew. I told them bring their checkbook. I said they've lost a lot with the earthquake and they need your help. These are orphans. The rest, as they say, is kind of history. It's kind of developed from there.
Evie?
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about your organization, ICRAS, and what it stands for? And how was it created?
Okay, so ICRAS is International Children's Rights Advocate Society. It's a group of advocates that are advocating for justice for the victims of predators who operate in orphanages in Haiti. Haiti is a Tier 2 human trafficking destination, which means there's a lot of human trafficking going on that has many aspects to it. But I became aware in 2011 that this man who had operated this orphanage was in fact accused over 10 times in 30 years of abusing the children in his care. And by abusing, I mean physically, emotionally, and sexually abusing the children in his care. And I became aware that he was accused over 10 times in 30 years, that over 10 times victims stepped forward, which is a hard thing to do in the States. You can imagine how hard that would be in Haiti, right? So what I discovered was through all this that they talk about abuse of girls or females, but they really don't talk about the abuse that boys suffer because boys don't report it. They're embarrassed. It's a painful trauma. And that was the case here. Despite all that, imagine being accused 10 times in 30 years and managing to still operate an orphanage where you're inviting predators into the orphanage with no background checks. And so what I discovered was this was not unique to this man, that in fact there were several other predators that operate in orphanages in Haiti. And it opened my eyes to the pain and trauma that that these victims suffer. And it opened my eyes to the conservative estimates put the orphanage business in Haiti at $3.27 billion. So it truly is a business. It's turned into this business. The ICRAS was started out of a need to, so I first went to Haiti, so I was aware of all this. A lot of things happened. I won't get into all that because it's a 12-hour conversation. So in 2011, I became aware of the severity of the abuse, let's say, and I was shocked that I could have been supporting financially or otherwise a group or a man who's capable of this, okay? And so shocked and brought it to their attention. And, you know, I talked to 20 people before I really believed it, honestly. I called, I Google searched this person, Michael Geilenfeld, abused Haiti, and then bam, I found charges from 1990, 1995. They referenced other charges. I called the people that had made those testimonies that had put them online, because I thought, you know, well, anybody can put anything online, right? Maybe it's a lie. Maybe it's not true. So I called up 1990, for example, it was Mary Colehouse. And I said, fully expecting there to be no Mary Colehouse, fully expecting Mary Colehouse, if there was a Mary Colehouse, not to call me back. And I left a message, and she called me back. And she said, Valerie, I get 3-4 calls a month about this, she did not intentionally put it out there on the internet, by the way, because it's very sensitive. People's names are mentioned. It really kind of goes to the indignities that the victims have to go through. And the indignities are put there by people calling themselves mercenaries. Standard MSW protocol would be to protect the victim, victim 1, victim 2, victim 3, except for in Haiti. Because what I discovered through all this is that the community ends up turning on the victim. The victim has upset this apple cart, this business, because there is no business. The business is orphanage. The business is poverty. The business is exploitation. Largest group of NGOs in the world, I would say the largest epic fail in the world. In terms of,
you say that Michael Gilderfeld, you said his name is?
His name is Michael Geilenfeld.
Geilenfeld. So he had the orphanage, and you were one of the sponsors for the orphanage?
Well, I was sponsoring, they did fundraising tours multiple times a year. And so when I was invited, I didn't know, and I certainly didn't do my research, which I would never fall prey to again, right? And I've totally learned how this all works. So I was invited to help sponsor through my connections with Rotary and Coca-Cola. I was invited to help sponsor them for the 10 days that they would be here. So I was sort of the coordinator, team leader for this group of 20 young men who were part of this Resurrection Dance Theater. They sold crafts and so forth. And so they did this, they moved on from here, they went to they went to Arizona, San Francisco, Nebraska, Iowa, North Carolina, Virginia. They've traveled a good bit, okay? And each tour would be 7 to 10 days that they would stop, and they would have another person like me in that area. So that is a definition of trafficking, because you're not, you know, it's a financial gain, and those people are not getting paid.
Right.
So that's trafficking right there. So I accidentally came into this situation because I didn't know people would be okay with this, quite frankly.
So he was traveling from state to state, internationally traveling with children?
There were several minors, but they were mostly older, maybe 19, 20, 21-year-olds. So the age of consent in Haiti is 18. There were always a couple of young boys that traveled along with them. One of them was one of his boyfriends and his son. His son, Didi, was, I believe, 8 or 10. So he should have been in school. So one of my initial questions as a mother, because I, at the time, had 2 children in school, I said, my children don't like to be out 2 days with the flu. You know what I mean? Like, they're panicked because they don't want to lose out on schoolwork or whatever. And I said, what do you do about that? And they said, that's how I actually met my older son. I said, what do you do from the missing work, the school work? They don't have Zoom. It's Haiti, right? You know, so like, how are they keeping up? It must be a lot to keep up with, because all the 20-year-olds, of course, hadn't graduated from high school, because there's a very low graduation rate, right? And so just as I was asking that, my son happened to be walking by, and Michael said, "Oh, here's our tutor right here." And his reaction and body language told me he wasn't the tutor.
Tutor.
He was like, "Oh, I'm the tutor now? I thought it was the drummer." Okay, you know, it was just, and then he did this nervous laugh. Oh, ha, 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 ha. You know, he's such a joker or whatever, but it was extremely awkward. But at that moment, I was still drinking Kool-Aid. I thought, I'm next to this great person who worked with Mother Teresa, right? Now, if you tell me you work with Mother Teresa, I'm thinking you all are having tea in the afternoon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, hey, what'd you do today, Mother? This is what I did. It's just, there's no truth to any of it.
So Valerie, at what point, what incited your curiosity to go and investigate?
Okay, so I don't want to get too personal on the story, just in the interest of protecting those that have testified and so forth, but I will tell you, my older son that I adopted, that sponsored, right, because I can't adopt him because he was an adult, well, excuse me, let's step back a minute. So in 2010, imagine my house has become Haiti's headquarters for the earthquake. I'm learning about this, I'm doing press releases, I'm getting venues, I'm making contacts at schools, I'm arranging dinners, I'm arranging where they're gonna sleep. Weird things they're saying, like, because I went to school in Europe, so I know about it. You know, you might do, 2 people might go sleep over at someone's house to experience Milan, for example, but you wouldn't send all 20 children over to your house because you couldn't handle 20 children. I was told that they would be nervous or scared. When you talk to them separately, they're like, we survived the streets of Haiti. We're not scared of anything. Like, that's ridiculous. Or the food, the way they spoke about the food and so forth. It was, again, hindsight's 2020. These people are the experts. I went to school in Europe. I've never been to Haiti. It did defy logic to me from the beginning. But my whole house was all about this man who had donated his life to the orphans of Haiti, that he had this dance group and he was going to be coming here. So my children were all like, my whole family, all Rotary, anybody I met was, please come to this performance, please bring your checkbook, please be prepared to stroke a nice check, because they need it desperately. And so we met them on the first performance, and my older daughter, Sarah, was very quiet, and she's very talkative, and she's very outgoing, very much an extrovert, very social, and she just was kind of off to the side. And I thought, now that's very strange. And then we were driving home from the first event, and she said, Mom, that man is evil. And I said, what? The man's evil? He has donated his whole life to the children orphans of Haiti. He's not evil. Why would you say that? She says, Mom, there's just something about him, his eyes. I can't tell you. So this is January, February of 2010. I'm still drinking Kool-Aid. I think she's being a brat. In fact, I told her, I said, that's terrible. I won't even listen to that. That's terrible for you to say that about a man who has donated his life to the children of Haiti. I won't listen to that, Sarah. She said, okay, Mom, I'm just telling you, I don't have a good feeling about anything. The following year, again, we had this tour. It was in Atlanta. I was co-chairing that year with another gal. And same type of thing. It was kind of fly last year's airplane. You know, we're doing the same thing, looking for venues. They have to sleep together, whatever. I hadn't heard anything about any abuse. He did make a veiled mention about, be careful of these children because they are street children, which is not true. They're street children, and they'll exploit you. They're manipulative. They're gonna tell you stories to get your feelings going or whatever. So they did plant this little seed back there that should someone come forward and say something untoward has happened, that you're gonna say, well, you know. And I think a lot of people fell for that. So the second tour, my son, my older son, was asking about school. And I didn't understand, because here I had seen all these performances where they do the ask, where Michael gets up in front and he does his, you know, his little introduction, and he talks about Haiti. And some of the dances to me are kind of negative for Haiti. I've shown them to Haitians and they're like, I don't like the idea of the shoe shine, where the guy in the purple suit is putting his cigarette out on the boy who's shining the shoes. To me, that's kind of like a little negative there, you know? Anyway, every day when we would travel somewhere for a performance, he would ask me something about scholarships or school, or, you know, before his mother died, he wanted to be an accountant. And could I help him? And what did he need to do? And I said, well, my gosh, as talented as you are and as articulate as you are in English, I would think a school would love to give you he played soccer, he was musical. I mean, I could think of multiple scholarships he would be eligible for. Just needed a little guidance. And I didn't understand with all these handlers why this guidance wasn't happening, but I'm a real estate broker. People are comfortable talking to me. Even I don't do mortgages, but they'll go do the mortgage application. The mortgage broker will say, do you have any questions? They always say, oh, no. And what do? I'm the one who gets the phone call. Valerie, what does that mean, that and the other thing? So people are comfortable since birth, practically. I'm that go-to person that, you know, no problem, we'll figure it out. So for some reason, he was comfortable asking me about this, but I noticed he was a little bit nervous, because they're not supposed to talk to you about things that are going on.
So
I'm noticing some other people around kind of going, you know, with the ear, you know, kind of listening what's going on. So the last day, we performed at Emory University, and I went up to some of these handlers, pastors, and I said, have you talked to Lele? Yes, good. They're all like weird. Yes, great guy, whatever. And I said, do you know he has to pay for his own school? And he goes, well, you know, he needs to talk to Michael. Okay, well, why are you up there in front of people saying 100% of every dollar donated goes to the children of Haiti? Why are you saying you pay for school and housing and so forth? Then it seems like that's not true, which I'm one of those people with no gray area. Like, I will defend you to the nth degree, but do not lie to me, right? I don't do the whole lie thing, right? So I went up and I said, well, you know, his dream is to go to school and become an accountant. You know, his mother died, and that's what she had a dream for him as well. And he said, well, don't, and I said, I want to help him. Well, don't promise him anything you're not going to do. And I said, I am not the person to do that. And I could tell at that performance, the handlers, the directors, you know, the body language changed instantly. I was not supposed to care. I wasn't supposed to ask questions. I wasn't supposed to dig deep. I said, hey, look, don't worry. I'm really resourceful. I'll figure something out. I didn't know anything at this point about any abuse or anything. And he said, well, I tried to fill out it, because I said, you just get online, Google search music scholarship or soccer scholarship or running. He's a runner, you know, he's very athletic. I said, Google search one of those. And so he would come back in the car the next day and he would say, do you have to pay for a scholarship? I said, no, you don't pay for a scholarship. So he got in the car and he said, can you help me? And I said, I just gave 10 days to Haiti and I've been out of my office and I have these contracts I need to go through. I'm I'm stacked up. I'm behind schedule. I would love to, you know, I would.
Right.
And his face was kind of, you know, and he said, I said, you know what, I'll tell you what, I'll ask my daughter, she's in college, maybe she could grab her laptop, pick you up from your last performance, bring you to Starbucks. Once you go through one, you can kind of go through them all. Not thinking about Sarah's initial take on the minute she saw Michael, the type of person he was, okay? So not thinking about that at all. And I said, Sarah, please do not do this and have it be every 2 seconds you're calling me, like, what address do I put? What number do I put? You know, how do I fill this out? If you're going to do this, then you take ownership of it, because I can't get the 100 phone calls. I got to focus on these contracts. So she's like, no, Mom, I got it. No problem. So I said, look, do not call me unless your eyeball has been poked out or your limb has been severed. I don't want to hear the phone ring from you. So she goes and picks him up. They go to Starbucks. They start the process. She starts asking him some questions about the home, and specifically Michael Geilenfeld, that guy. And one thing led to another. And he said, you can see that he's not good? And she said, I can. I told my mother. My mother's been promoting him to all her friends, to Rotary. She got all these people to show up with checkbooks and cash and whatnot, and to buy crafts and so forth. You got to tell my mother. And she said, I'm not going to tell my mother because I already told my mother the guy's not good.
Wow.
And so, so then the phone came, Mom, I told you the guy's bad. I said, what are you talking about? She said, I don't even want to say a thing. You need to hear it from him. You need to meet us for lunch. So I grabbed my best friend, who's a charge nurse at Piedmont Hospital from Chicago. She's heard it all, seen it all. We go and we have lunch. Okay, guys, what are we going to hear? Remember, they had planted the seed. These guys are manipulators. They're going to tell you a story or whatever. So this is going to be good. And just his body language, he was up, you know, he was uncomfortable. We're at a restaurant, we're at a Chinese restaurant, and he's a little bit uncomfortable. And that she said, I told you my mom is one of those people you can trust. You can tell her anything. She's never going to do anything to hurt you. And he said, look, there's problems in that house. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, Michael likes boys. I said, Michael likes boys? What do you mean? Like, again, I'm not seeing this, right? I don't know any of this. I don't even know about
right. You're trying to take it in. You're trying to assess you're right.
I can't. Because now, wait, hold it. Wait, what? I have now just been involved in raising large amounts of money for someone that is capable of this. Like, wait, hold it, wait, no. And I couldn't quite process it. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, well, I don't know. I said, has he been charged? Is there a police report? And he said, well, I know there's certain places he can't go. He doesn't go to Boston. He doesn't like to go to Canada. He doesn't go to Detroit. I said, why? And he said, well, I think the police are onto him in those locations. And again, I'm not, like, I can't believe this right now, right? So, like, the whole restaurant is sort of spinning right now, because I'm like, could I possibly have been so stupid? Like, because now I'm thinking, hold it, I really don't know this guy. He told me these things, but like every good actor, their story's good. It pulls on your heartstrings. You're crying. You're like verklempt. You're like, oh my gosh, this is so beautiful, right? I've never been to Haiti at this point. So I go, my friend, we send them on their way because it's the last day. My friend says, look, Valerie, I know you're very busy. I'll go home and I'll Google search and see what I can find out and verify anything that he just told us. Very basic information. We're in a restaurant in a private location. Okay, we're not getting into anything personal. And I go back to my office, to my files, and I'm looking at them, and I just can't, I can't focus on them. I can't like read. There's a disconnect, okay? And so I said, okay, Valerie, hold it. I'm trying to make sense of this. I said, hold it. anybody can say anything. Maybe someone posted something that's not true or whatever. Let me Google search it. If what he says is remotely true, even 25% of what he said is true is too much to me. It'll be posted somewhere. So I Google search, I say to myself, how would you look this up? So I Google searched Michael Geilenfeld abuse Haiti, and then bam, Mary Kohlhaase's testimony with Michelle Finch, the statements, and they referenced other accusations, earlier accusations. That was 1990. 1995 was covered, all of the legal things, things that had been in the newspaper reported, all the names of all the judges and so forth. And then there were other things as well. And I just sat there and I just couldn't face it. Like I was literally sick to my stomach.
And you knew, did you really at that point, did you feel that this was the truth and you needed to protect the young man and the children who were involved? How did that come about that you realized that, okay, now I have to protect these children?
So just reading this graphic testimony, which is graphic, I would share it with you because it's out there on the internet, but it's very graphic and it's upsetting. Okay, so this is how he operates. And I don't watch scary movies and I'm afraid of birds. I'm not afraid of anything else. And this whole process has made me pretty tough. And I'm pretty tough as a New Yorker, but like, I don't watch scary movies type thing. Okay. Like this is not me. So I'm watching a scary movie and I'm the type of person when I'm reading something, it's a video going on in my brain. So I'm seeing everything, I'm feeling everything. So I go into the bathroom and promptly regurgitate my nice Chinese lunch that I had. I come back and again, this room is spinning and I'm thinking, wait a second, Valerie, you can't possibly, you're not a dumb person. You couldn't possibly have supported someone that's capable of this, that's tied into churches, that's tied into fundraising arms, that's tied into USAID. It's not possible, Valerie, you're not that dumb, okay? But I'm here to tell you I am that dumb because I supported them. I didn't do my homework. I was not aware that this was happening in the universe. And so to justify my failure, I said, well, wait a second. Anybody can post anything online. I'm going to see if there really is this lady called Mary Kohlhaase or Michelle Finch. Google search it, my goodness.
Le pardon. Aujourd'hui, nous allons parler du pardon. Beaucoup de personnes ont des difficultés à pardonner leurs prochains. Pourquoi est-il difficile de pardonner? Il y a des gens qui peuvent garder la haine contre toi pendant des années difficiles de te pardonner. Ces mêmes gens vont à l'église, à la mosquée ou autre. Ils font de belles prières. Ils conseillent des gens, mais très difficile de pardonner les personnes qui les ont offensés. Le pardon est un mot très facile à prononcer, mais très difficile à pratiquer. Qu'est-ce que c'est le pardon? Pourquoi il est très important de pardonner? Pour répondre à toutes ces questions, j'ai décidé d'inviter ma tante. Permettez-moi de vous la présenter, s'il vous plaît. Ma tante, venez. Bonjour tante.
Bonjour Samuel, vous allez bien?
Oui, et vous?
Je vais très bien, merci.
Tante, vous savez pourquoi vous êtes là?
Mais je sais pas, je suis curieuse pour découvrir.
Pouvez-vous vous présenter s'il vous plaît à mes abonnés?
Oui, j'ai le plaisir d'abord d'être là. Moi, je m'appelle Geneviève, je suis la tante de Samuel.
Alors, bienvenue.
Merci.
Tante, aujourd'hui nous allons parler du pardon.
Ok.
C'est pour ça que je vous ai invité pour répondre quelques questions concernant le pardon, qui pourra peut-être aider certains de nos abonnés à comprendre qu'est-ce que c'est le pardon.
D'accord.
Tout d'abord, nous allons définir qu'est-ce que c'est le pardon. Tante, qu'est-ce que c'est le pardon?
Le pardon, c'est l'art de pardonner. Par exemple, si quelqu'un te fait du mal, il faut lui pardonner.
Très bien. Tante, est-ce que vous avez une fois pardonné quelqu'un dans votre vie?
Oui, ça dépend de ce que la personne me fait, mais j'ai une fois pardonné les gens dans ma vie.
Est-ce que vous êtes quelqu'un qui a la facilité de pardonner les gens?
Oui, ça dépend de ce que la personne va te faire, comme j'ai dit avant. Des fois, il y a des choses qu'on te fait qui va prendre beaucoup de temps pour pouvoir pardonner cette personne, ou des fois, c'est très compliqué de pardonner la personne qui t'a fait du mal.
Ça veut dire qu'il y a des gens que vous avez enterrés dans votre cœur, tante?
Vous voulez dire quoi par là?
Je veux dire, est-ce qu'il y a des gens qui vous ont trop fait du mal et que vous avez décidé de ne plus jamais leur pardonner?
Oui, il y a des gens qui m'ont trop fait du mal, que j'ai décidé tout simplement de m'éloigner d'eux, parce que c'est compliqué pour moi de les pardonner.
Pourquoi, tante?
Parce que ces personnes-là m'ont beaucoup blessée profondément. J'arrive pas à les pardonner.
Est-ce que vous avez une fois demandé à Dieu de vous pardonner, tante?
Oui, je demande toujours à Dieu de me pardonner.
Si vous demandez pardon à Dieu, est-ce que vous constatez que Dieu vous pardonne?
Oui, je constate que Dieu me pardonne au quotidien parce que Dieu, d'abord, son nom, c'est le pardon. L'être humain n'est pas parfait. Et il me pardonne tous les jours.
Très bien.
Mais Samuel, pourquoi toutes ces questions?
Parce qu'il y a des gens qui sont peut-être la même situation que toi, mais on essaye d'expliquer pour que eux, ils comprennent que le pardon est important. Tante, excusez-moi pour toutes ces questions, mais c'est la dernière. Est-ce que si les personnes que tu dis que tu vas jamais les pardonner et qu'ils viennent te demander pardon, tu vas les pardonner?
Ça dépend, peut-être oui.
Comment ça?
Parce qu'il y a des gens qui m'ont trop fait du mal, qui ne méritent même pas le pardon. Il faut tout simplement les ignorer et prendre la distance.
Tante, je ne suis pas d'accord.
Pourquoi vous n'êtes pas d'accord?
Parce que Dieu nous voit voler, Dieu nous voit mentir, mais il nous pardonne. Alors pourquoi toi tu ne pardonnes pas les gens, tante?
Tout simplement parce que moi je ne suis pas Dieu. Je suis un être humain. Donc des fois ça m'arrive, j'ai très mal au cœur et j'arrive pas à pardonner.
Tante, tu sais que quelqu'un qui ne pardonne pas est comme un prisonnier?
Comment ça?
Parce que pardonner, c'est se libérer. Tout ce qui empêche l'homme de pardonner peut empêcher l'homme d'avancer.
Ah bon?
Oui. Il faut pardonner pour libérer ton cœur. Si Dieu qui nous a créés, il nous voit en train de faire de mauvaises choses, mais il nous pardonne, ça veut dire que nous aussi, nous devons pardonner nos prochains. Donc, libère ton cœur pour ne pas que ce qui t'empêche de pardonner t'empêche d'avancer.
Oui, c'est vrai, tu as raison.
Donc, dis-moi maintenant, tu vas pardonner les personnes que tu dis que tu ne vas pas les pardonner s'ils viennent te pardonner?
Oui, bien sûr. Avec tout ce que vous m'avez appris aujourd'hui, bien sûr que je vais pardonner les gens qui m'ont fait tellement du mal.
Très bien. Merci d'avoir regardé la vidéo. Si vous avez aimé, partagez pour aider les autres qui n'arrivent pas à pardonner leur prochain, pour qu'ils arrivent à pardonner. Et surtout, n'oubliez pas de persévérer dans la vie. La persévérance est toujours en rendez-vous chez tout le monde. Au revoir.